I was a mess, and I knew it. My wife, Clara, had stopped looking me in the eye months ago. My job at the mill was one missed shift away from being someone else's. Every night, I drowned my failures in whiskey, hoping to forget, only to wake up choking on regret. That February night, I'd stumbled home after a bender that started at a dive bar called Rusty's. The first shot of bourbon burned sweet, warming me from the inside out. I chased it with another, then a beer, then nothing. Just a black void until I woke up on my living room floor, my head pounding like a sledgehammer. I groaned, the hangover teaching me the same lesson I never learned. Drinking solves nothing. My mouth tasted like ash, and my stomach churned. I swore I'd change, quit the booze, eat right, maybe even fix things with Clara. But as I lay there, trying to piece together the night, I felt a shadow fall over me. Clara stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She didn't yell, which was worse. She just pointed at the TV, her hand trembling. "Look," she whispered. The screen showed a gas station, its windows shattered, pumps toppled and shelves gutted. Soda cans and chip bags littered the floor, swimming in spilled motor oil. A news anchor's voice droned. The owner arrived at 4 a.m. to find his business destroyed. Police are seeking this individual, caught on security footage. A grainy image flickered onto the screen, a man, unshaven, wild-eyed, standing in the wreckage. My face stared back at me. I started, but Clara cut me off. "Gout," she said, her voice flat, "and don't come back." I wanted to argue, to explain I didn't remember a thing, but the look in her eyes stopped me. I'd broken her one too many times. Shame burned hotter than the hangover. I grabbed my coat and stumbled into the street, the cold biting through my thin shirt. I couldn't face the police, not yet. The thought of prison, of losing everything, sent panic racing through me. I needed to disappear. I ended up at the bus station, buying a one-way ticket to nowhere with the last of my cash. The bus rattled north, through towns that got smaller and colder with every mile. At the last stop, I hitched a ride with a trucker who smelled like stale coffee and motor oil. He glanced at me, his eyes narrowing. "Running from something?" he asked, lighting a cigarette. I didn't answer, but he didn't push. "There's a place up north," he said, blowing smoke out the window. "They're hiring. No questions asked. Keep going past Coldfoot, up toward the Arctic Circle. It's off the grid, but they pay cash." I nodded, teeth chattering. "Sounds like my kind of place." He smirked. "It's a good spot to hide. Just don't ask what they're moving." He dropped me at a lonely intersection where a gas station, diner, and motel clung to the highway like survivors of a shipwreck. The air was so cold, it felt like knives in my lungs. I checked into the motel, signing the register with a fake name, John Carter, and paid with my last crumpled bills. The clerk, a wiry man with a gray beard, eyed me like I was trouble. "Heard you're headed to the place past Coldfoot," he said. "Guy at the diner knows the way. Big fella, scar across his nose. Can't miss him." I thanked him and trudged to the diner, the snow crunching under my boots. Inside, the smell of bacon and coffee hit me like a lifeline. The place was nearly empty, but I spotted him immediately. A giant of a man, easily 6'5", with a scar slicing across his face like a crescent moon. He was tearing into a plate of eggs and sausage, his hands moving with purpose. I slid into the booth across from him. "Mind if I join you?" I asked. He grunted, not looking up. I cut to the chase. "Heard you work at the place up north. I need a job." He chewed slowly, sizing me up. "You got that look," he said finally. "Man with something to outrun. All right, I'm the foreman. Name's Holt. Finish your coffee and we'll head out." I followed him to his truck, a beat-up rig that groaned as it started. The drive was long, the road winding through a landscape of endless snow and shadow. Daylight was a rumor up here, the sky a permanent bruise. Hours later, lights appeared in the distance, harsh and uninviting. They outlined a massive concrete building, squat and windowless, like a bunker. Holt parked, and I followed him to a heavy steel door. He punched in a code, and it swung open with a hiss. Inside, the air was warm but stale, like the building was holding its breath. The main space was cavernous, stacked with wooden crates and metal containers. No one else was around, just the echo of our footsteps. Holt led me through a maze of corridors to a small office with a desk, a chair, and a whiteboard covered in scribbled schedules. No computers, no phones, just paper and ink. "You'll work 12-hour shifts," Holt said. "Sleep here." He pointed to a door down the hall. "There's a cot in there. Get some rest. You start at midnight." "What do you do here?" I asked, curiosity slipping through. He raised an eyebrow. "No questions. That's the deal." I nodded, but my mind was already spinning. Smuggling? Drugs? Something worse? The isolation screamed illegal. Holt left me in a tiny room with a fold-up bed and a bare bulb. I lay down, certain I wouldn't sleep, but exhaustion pulled me under. A voice woke me. "Up, newbie." A man stood in the doorway, lean and weathered, with a jagged scar running from his ear to his jaw. He wore a long black coat, and his eyes were cold. "Name's Vance. Let's move." He led me outside, where the cold hit like a fist. He showed me the generator, a hulking machine tucked behind the building. "This keeps the lights on," he said. "No lights, no work. No work, no pay. Got it?" I nodded, pulling my coat tighter. "What about the polar night? No sun for months, right?" Vance snorted. 65 days of dark. You'll get used to it." He ran through a list of tasks, checking lights, monitoring the generator, moving crates. I tried to listen, but the weight of the darkness outside pressed on me. It wasn't just the cold. It felt like something was watching from beyond the lights. My first task was to check the exterior floodlights. They blazed against the snow, casting stark shadows. I walked the perimeter, the wind clawing at my face. Halfway around, I froze. Something moved at the edge of the light, a shape, low and fast, gone before I could focus. My heart pounded. A wolf? A bear? I hurried back to the door, fumbling the code in my panic. Inside, I found Holt in the main room. "Something's out there," I said, breathless. He didn't look surprised. "They're just animals. Stay in the light and they won't bother you." He patted the pistol on his hip. "This helps too." "Animals?" I pressed. "What kind?" He smirked. "The kind that don't like light. Keep moving and you'll be fine." I didn't like his answer, but I let it go. The no questions rule was starting to feel like a cage. That night, I couldn't sleep. The silence was too loud, broken only by the hum of the generator. I kept thinking about Clara. The gas station, the life I'd thrown away. I should have turned myself in, faced the music. Instead, I was here, in a frozen nowhere, working for men who carried guns and dodged questions. The next shift, I was back outside, checking the lights again. They glowed steady, but the darkness seemed to push back, thicker than before. I was almost done when one light flickered, then died. I cursed, remembering Vance's instructions. "Check the wiring, tap the casing." I tapped it, muttering, "Don't quit on me." The light flared back on, and I laughed, relief flooding me. Then the next light went out, and another. One by one, they blinked off, plunging me into darkness. My breath caught. I heard it. A low, guttural sound, like a growl, but wrong, too sharp. I fumbled for the door code, my hands shaking. The keypad beeped, rejecting my input. I tried again. Behind me, snow crunched, closer now. I punched the code a third time, and the door clicked open. I stumbled inside, shouting, "The lights are out!" Holt appeared, calm as ever. "Slow down, what happened?" "They went out one by one," I gasped, "and there's something out there." Vance stormed in, his face twisted. "What'd you do, idiot?" "Nothing," I snapped. "They just died." Holt held up a hand. "Probably a loose connection. We'll fix it." He glanced at me. "You said something's out there?" I nodded. "It was close, moving fast." He sighed. "They're curious, that's all. Stay inside and they won't come near." I opened my mouth to argue, then froze. The door. I hadn't closed it. "I left it open," I whispered. Vance cursed, yanking a pistol from his coat. "Stay here," he growled, stalking toward the door. Holt grabbed a flashlight and motioned for me to follow. I didn't want to, but I grabbed a flashlight too and trailed behind. Vance stood at the open door, firing into the dark. The gunshots echoed, and he whooped like a kid at a carnival. "Take that, you freaks," he shouted, reloading. Holt grabbed his arm. "Enough! You'll wreck the truck." I peered outside, my flashlight beam cutting through the black. Bodies littered the snow. Pale, hairless things, not wolves or bears. They were long, maybe 7 feet, with bony limbs and veins bulging under translucent skin. Their faces were hidden, but their claws gleamed, sharp and cruel. More shapes moved just beyond the light, circling. "You killed them," I whispered, horrified. "Damn right," Vance said, grinning. "Keeps him in line." Holt shook his head. "You shot up my truck, too. Engines toast." He slammed the door shut, and I exhaled, thinking we were safe. Then the inside lights flickered. My stomach dropped. "You said they can't get in," I said to Holt. "They can't," he replied, but his voice wavered. "Unless the lights go out." We ran to the control panel, a mess of switches and gauges. Holt studied it, frowning. "It's a cable outside. We'll need to reconnect it." "Outside?" I croaked. He nodded, handing me a flashlight. Vance was already reloading, a manic glint in his eye. We stepped back into the cold, flashlights sweeping the dark. The creatures were there, just out of reach, their eyes glinting red when the light hit them. We moved in a tight circle, beams crisscrossing, keeping them at bay. Holt worked fast, kneeling by the generator. "Got it," he said after what felt like forever. "Back inside, now." I turned, and my foot caught on a corpse. My flashlight fell, its beam shooting uselessly into the sky. I scrambled for it, but something grabbed my leg, claws digging in. A shot rang out, and the creature fell, its head split open. Holt yanked me up, his flashlight and gun trained on the dark. Vance's beam circled us, but the creatures were closing in, a wall of pale flesh and teeth. "Back to back," Holt shouted. We moved as one, flashlights blazing until we reached the door. Holt punched in the code and we stumbled inside. Vance lingered, firing one last shot. A creature lunged, faster than I'd seen, and tore into his back. He screamed, collapsing, blood pooling beneath him. "Leave him," Holt yelled, dragging me inside. The lights flickered again, then died. Darkness swallowed us. I swung my flashlight, catching glimpses of claws and teeth. Holt was fighting, his gun barking, but there were too many. Blood sprayed as a creature slashed his chest. He staggered, pointing his flashlight at the door. "The switch," he gasped. "Flip it." I ran, the creature snarls at my heels. My flashlight shook, but I found the control panel, groped for the red lever, and yanked it down. The lights blazed on, and the creature screeched, fleeing through the open door. I slammed it shut, my heart pounding. That was 3 weeks ago. It's March 1st now, and I'm alone in the warehouse. The lights hum, steady and bright. Holt and Vance are gone, their bodies dragged into the dark. The polar note ends in 40 days, when the sun rises. Until then, I walk the halls, checking the lights, listening to the darkness outside. It's waiting, and I'm not sure I'll make it.